Hey folks, BlackCross here, and it's been a while since I've talked about Nintendo. It's been a while. So, I suppose before we address the elephant in the room, I should talk about some of the other stuff that Nintendo had revealed in their most recent Nintendo Direct that they did. So, let's go ahead and go through the list, shall we? There's Chocobo Race that they're doing. And, well, needless to say, Chocobo GP is what the name is. And, well, I have to say, I'm definitely looking forward to it. Not surprising, my brother is just hooked on to the ideal, of course. But, this would probably be the one racing game that I might attempt to play, but never been a big fan of racing games in genuine. But it's nice to know that, hey, Chocobo series is getting a racing game. We also have a new Kirby game. Surprisingly, an open world Kirby game from the looks of it. Kirby and the Forgotten Land. Which, pretty interesting. Pretty interesting from the looks of it. We also have the sudden reveal, something that, even though I heard rumors about this, as cool as this sounded, I figured Nintendo probably isn't going to do that, because, I mean, why would they? But sure enough, they finally revealed it as the N64. It's going to be part of the Nintendo Online Bundle. But not only that, apparently, the, Sega Genesis? Like, wow. Okay, so it's not just the N64, but the Sega Genesis that they're also including. It definitely caught me by surprise. It's like, out of all the rumors, I had not heard anyone saying, oh, Nintendo's going to be putting Sega Genesis. What? I mean, it's good that they're doing that, but at the same time, it's like, wait, what? What? Then again, nowadays, Nintendo is, Sega tends to get confused, tied up with, Nintendo these days, so to me, it kind of makes sense, but at the same time, it's just kind of weird just to see that finally happen, of course. And then, of course, towards the end of the event, the biggest reveal, definitely one that caught me by surprise, because, you know, from the way it's been sounding, it sounded like we wasn't going to hear anything until, like, 2023. I just felt like we wasn't going to hear anything at all. And all of a sudden, Bayonetta 3 had been revealed to finally have a release window, and I'm like, really? That's a shock. I wasn't expecting Bayonetta to ever make a return at all. You know, it's one of those things where it's like, by the time you see, when you first heard Bayonetta 3 was going to be a thing, you were probably thinking to yourself, like myself, it's like, oh, it's probably going to be like a 2-3 year thing. But every single time there's a news in regards to Bayonetta 3, it just has not been looking good from where I've been seeing it. So, to me personally, I thought we wasn't going to see it for another couple of years. But no, here it is, Bayonetta 3. Now with all those details out of the way, we can finally address the biggest news, surprisingly, the biggest thing that's been talked about, aside Bayonetta 3, aside from, the new Kirby game, stuff like that. The biggest thing was whenever they talked about the Mario movie. I figured that Nintendo would eventually drop the bomb and be like, yeah, let's talk about the movie. Unfortunately, we didn't get a trailer, sadly. I wish we would have, then we would have been less aggravated, I suppose is the word, but instead, we got an ideal window of release of when it will be released in theaters. No updates on if it's going to get a streaming release, rather. I'm sure that if they do plan on putting it on a streaming service, it might be later on. But for right now, it is still stated to be released in theaters, which kind of surprise. I mean, it's a good thing. Theaters have a chance to survive, but at the same time, it's still a shock that, oh, yeah, that's right, we still have theaters. But anyway, so according to the release window, it's going to be on December 21st of 2022. So literally over a year from now. That's not the main issue, though. The main issue is that instead of doing like a trailer and being like, oh, hey, here you go. Instead, they said, oh, instead of a trailer, how about we reveal who's going to be voicing as Mario and crew? So, I guess I don't know what I was thinking. I figured that they would probably pick other people and not Charles Martinet. As much as it would be awesome to have Charles Martinet voice as the iconic characters and stuff, it was like, okay, obviously he can't voice everybody for a full movie. That's way too much on a person. Instead, we're going to have separate people voicing as individual characters. But the crew that they've got, was a little bit, what you would call a little bit of an overwhelming suspense for me. So let's go down through the list and talk about the individual cast members that's going to be voicing as each individual Mario character. So first off, Mario. Who's going to be voicing as Mario? Chris Pratt. I don't know what I don't know what I was thinking. I honestly don't know what I was thinking. I can't remember what it was, but all I can remember was Chris Pratt, Star-Lord, is going to be Mario. What? I mean, yes, he's been in a lot of movies these days. He's been in the Lego movie, he's been in Jurassic World. I mean, if you know Chris Pratt pretty well, you know he's been in pretty much a lot of movies these days. So it's no shock that I guess he's in a Mario movie. But to voice as Mario, that was, again, not to be mean, but that was like, say what? That was what I was thinking, was like, what? You know, I was just so confused. I had no idea what to say. Now, record news articles has talked about this, where the reveal was done and everything like that, and Chris Pratt has mentioned that he was honored to be given the role as Mario, and that he was going to do his very best to deliver a convincing role of Mario. And to be perfectly honest, I'm glad that he understands the scope of things, but I don't know if he understands the real life scope of how the internet works. So, yeah, we'll just see how things go from there. Continuing on, though, we have Anna Taylor-Joy. I have no idea who she is. I was trying to look up on Wikipedia to see her filmography and stuff like that, to see, oh, wonder what films she might have been that I might recognize and stuff like that. Well, unfortunately, the only thing I can get was that she was in The Dark Crystal Age of Resistance as Bera in episode 10. But that doesn't really help me figure out her voice. Like, oh, could she voice as Peach? I mean, when you've got a role like Peach, where it's like minimum, not to be mean again, but very minimum effort for Peach. She's only had like a very handful of games where she's had like a major role. And even then it's like, you know, the traditional damsel in distress and stuff like that. I don't know how that's going to translate for Peach, but hey, it might work. But the next one that they revealed, Charles Day as Luigi. At the time, I didn't know who Charles Day was. I was like, I have no idea who this guy is. But I can finally picture a voice for him. And that is the fact that he was technically the spaceman in the Lego movie. And it's like, oh, okay, now I can see. Now I can visualize it. And surprisingly, it will work for Luigi. I mean, Luigi's kind of that scaredy cat guy. He's the brother of Mario. I can kind of picture it. As weird as that might be, I can totally picture him as Luigi. Now that I have a voice to go by, I can picture Luigi. The next one, oh, I was like convinced that this was going to be like, yes. Like, as hilarious as this sounds, as hilarious as this might be, Jet Black as Bowser. Jack Black as Bowser. As hilarious as that may sound, that is not a crazy ideal. It truly isn't. Number one, out of all the people who's on this list, I know for a fact that Jack Black is a gamer. And I have no idea that he's played a number of Mario games to know who Bowser is. And secondly, he's got a booming voice. He's got a powerful booming voice that resonates. So him as Bowser would work very well. It just, I saw that, I immediately was like, that's crazy. But then I was like, no, wait, this could work. This actually can, in fact, work. It's not a crazy ideal. You know? I mean, Jet Black is well known, so it definitely would work as Bowser. Next up, and there are no words to describe how weird this next one gets. It's about as like, what did I laugh so hard and slam my head onto my freaking keyboard and was like, why is he on the computer? Keegan-Michael Key as Toad. You know Toad, right? He's a loud, obnoxious character with a high-pitched voice, enough to break eardrums in every spectrum. And yet, he's going to be voiced as Keegan-Michael Key. I know Keegan-Michael Key. Recently, I've been familiar with his work these days. I've heard his voice in the Green Eggs and Ham TV series as the narrator. He's also been in a live-action movie called Jingle. Both of them are on Netflix, by the way, if you ever want to check them out. And among other things. But it's like, hang on. He's going to be voicing as Toad. Now, let's also take a pause for a moment and remind ourselves, Toad isn't just a name. It's also a race. So is he going to be voicing as just the one Toad that's going to be following Mario and them? Or is it going to be every Toad? Like, let that go through your head. Let that go through your head. Is he going to be voicing as the one or the many? Can you imagine? You know, the opening and everything like that. You see a city of like toads and stuff, and every one of them has Keegan-Michael Key speaking. I mean, as by himself, it sounds weird. But if he's voicing as every Toad, just like that gets me laughing. It's, again, not to be mean towards anyone, but at the same time, when you think about it, when you actually have time to think about this stuff, you have to go, wait, how is this gonna work? You know? I'm sorry. That really got me choked up now that I'm thinking about it again. I don't know why. It's just every single time I think about it, it's like, is he just going to be the one or the many? And even my brother was like, no, he'd be just the one. It'd be kind of crazy for him to voice as the many. And it's like, I don't know. With the way the voice cast is at this rate, it would be pretty even more sensible to voice as every other Toad. Excuse me. let's just move on to the next one, which is by far, the most unusual voice character that they have picked. So, Donkey Kong. Donkey Kong is going to be featured in this film. That's cool. Who's going to be voicing as Donkey Kong? Seth Rogen. Ladies and gentlemen, you cannot make this stuff up. You just can't. You can try. You can try to believe that this is just some crazy fever dream. Because let's face it, you've already got Chris Pratt. You've already got Keegan-Michael Key. You got Jet Black. And now you have Seth Rogen voicing as Donkey Kong. I don't know. I just don't know. I believe the last time I talked about Seth Rogen in anything was in regards to the Lion King film. That was my biggest thing, was that it wasn't that he couldn't do voice acting. It was because of what films he's done in the past. They're not exactly what you call kid-friendly. Can he do Pumbaa? Well, I'm sure he could. Can he do Donkey Kong? In this case, I don't know. I really don't know. I mean, there's only two forms of Donkey Kong that we can visualize. Or at least I can. I'm sure some of you can, and the rest of you can't. But let me remind you. The only sound effect we've ever gotten is just him acting like a gorilla. And then, of course, you have the Donkey Kong Country TV series, which... just... Yeah. Let's just get past that and get back to this and be like, okay, could he voice as Donkey Kong? I don't know. My brain is like trying to wrap around the idealization of like him voicing as Donkey Kong. And it's like, yeah, it could, but at the same time, the other part of my brain is like, no, this isn't real. This isn't, this, what, why? Why is he in the film? Why is he in the film? Why is he in the film? I know this is mean for me to say, and this is like the top tier meanness that I'm gonna get to, but it's like, Seth Rogen as Donkey Kong. I'm sorry, I'm trying to wrap it, but it's hard for me to kind of like get a grip on reality and be like, yeah, this is real. This isn't the craziest thing I've seen, nor heard. But no, it is. It's pretty crazy. And so they finally finished it off by showing the last three characters that is going to be featured in the film. And again, going back to it, I had to look these people up. Because I had never heard of them. Never heard of them. So let's go with Kevin Michael Richardson as Kamek, which is the Magic Koopa. So, the only thing that I could find, which made me immediately go, oh, I know exactly who that is now, is that he voiced it as Captain Gantu in Lilo and Stitch. He's done a lot of different other voicing roles in several movies and stuff. But as soon as whenever I saw that he was Captain Gantu in Lilo and Stitch, I immediately was like, oh, I know who that is now. And then I pictured the voice as Magic Koopa. Kamek. I'm like, I'm sorry, what? I'm sorry. What? You know, Magic Koopa, voicing as Captain Gantu. I am, again, not to be mean, but to me that's a bit weird. Just a little bit weird. Not to be mean, just weird is all. Next up, we have Fred Armin? Arms? Fred, regardless. He's going to be voicing as Cranky Kong. After getting Donkey Kong, it makes sense to have Cranky Kong in this film, but I can't picture a voice. I honestly can't. I looked up his Wikipedia, and all I've got was that he was in a number of promotional works. And then when I went to try to find a film that he might have been in, I still can't visualize his voice. He's been in a lot of different stuff, but I just can't picture a voice. I mean, again, going back to what we were talking about, Donkey Kong, I know from barely any appearance at all in video games, but I know back to the Donkey Kong Country TV series, Cranky Kong, I know that voice, and it would make sense. Fred, I don't know. It's hard for me to visualize who he's going to be, how he's going to sound and stuff like that. Again, until I see an actual trailer, I can't say for sure if any of these people can do the job well. Some of them I can visualize. Some of them, it's not working very well for me. But next one, we're going to have to talk about this. We're going to be here for a while. Sebastian Menzin, I hope I pronounced that right. I'm sorry. But Sebastian, don't know him. He's generally a stand-up comedian, from what it sounds like. He mostly does stand-up comic. And he has a very small filmography with him. But he's mostly a stand-up comic. He's going to be voicing as a character known as Spike. Now, imagine whenever the rumors first picked up. This was the biggest one that I was hearing for a while. The rumor was going on that Sebastian was going to be voicing as a Mario character known as Spike. I saw the image and I was like, who's that? Now, this is obviously coming from somebody who isn't a Mario quote-unquote fan. I'm more of a casual when it comes to Mario games. But when it comes down to hardcore stuff, I'm not familiar. So I went to my brother, Delmar. You know, he's a big Mario fan, right? He's big with Mario. Even he didn't know who this guy was. I mentioned Spike, and he immediately went to the enemy, the little fish-looking thing. Whatever this guy is, the little green thing. Which technically that enemy's called Spike. But I'm like, no, this is a different Spike. And he's like, huh? And when I showed him the image, he immediately said, who? So, we have a problem here, folks. We have a problem here. They picked an obscure character to put into a Mario movie. One that no one probably even knows. You want to know where he originated from? An NES game known as Wrecking Crew. I kept thinking that it was in Construction Crew, but it's not. It's Wrecking Crew. That was his original appearance. So, how is that related to Mario? It doesn't really have any strong connections, sadly. Not enough to suffice. Now, technically he is part of the Mario realm, I suppose you could say, because apparently he's made an appearance in a Wario Rare game. So it's technically he is part of the Mario universe, but you have to kind of dig for it in order for it to make sense. A very obscure character, and I mean you had to reach deep into the crevice of Nintendo's archives and be like, oh yeah, we've got a role for that. We can work with this. Uh-huh. Sure you can. And I'm sure the majority of Nintendo fans are like, who's this guy? Who's he? I have no idea who he is. So, yeah. It's one of those things where we're just going to have to wrap our heads around this and all. So, at the end of the day, we have to ask ourselves, can we judge the movie by these voice actors? The answer is obviously no. Because we don't know. We haven't seen a trailer. We don't know if we're going to get a trailer before the film actually gets released. I imagine we will. I imagine we'll get it somewhere halfway through next year. But it's like, yeah, we can't really actively say how it's going to go. We just know based on the voice cast of who they're going to have voiced. Now, record, Charles Martinet is going to have a cameo role, but he's not going to be voicing as Mario or them. Now, I had several discussions with some of my friends and stuff, but there was one thing that resonated really well that kind of makes sense. We know these Mario characters for who they are. Do we really want to listen to the voice for an entire hour or two of just listening to them and stuff? Do we really want to? Mario and Luigi, probably, but Toad. Yeah, I can see that. I can see now. It's like, yeah, if you listen to a movie, you hear Toad, and you're just like, oh god, please somebody shut him up. He's destroying half the audience eardrums right now. So I guess it makes sense. But it's like for every other character, it's like, yeah, I guess I can see that. It's not as crazy as it sounds. It kind of makes sense. So it's like, yeah, I can understand it. It's not as crazy. I guess depending on how it looks, how the film looks, and how the story is going to progress, I guess it makes sense that these voice cast choices would be made and stuff. Because Mario doesn't really have a big role when it comes to story. Nintendo has been very bleak when it comes to having story in regards to a Mario game. You know, you have a plumber who's trying to save a princess of a mushroom kingdom from a dragon. So, yeah, when you play that scenario over and over and over again, yeah, there's not going to be much of a story. I mean, there definitely should be a story, but there isn't like a lore captivating scenario to explain this synopsis. Like, was Mario part of some kind of contract thing where he fixed plumbing and stuff, and he somehow got tied up trying to save a kingdom of mushrooms and stop a dragon from continuously kidnapping a princess and stuff? I mean, you can't make this shit up. How do you explain a story like that? You don't. You just go with the flow and be like, yeah, I'm on a major high trip. I don't care what's happening. I'm just high off my butt. So yeah, it's just, regardless of what we do with the story, at this point, I think we can just safely say, yeah, this isn't as crazy as it sounds. I literally had to stop and be like, yeah, I need some serious thinking about this. I don't need to just like rush in and make a video. I need to literally think about, okay, will this work? It probably will. I'm sure most of us would be like, I don't know, maybe there could have been a better one. But in all honesty, I think at this point, we don't really have a trailer, so we can't say for sure. So for the time being right now, this is kind of like a, oh, this is what we're getting. Okay. Now we just gotta wait for a trailer. Then we can judge it then. Then I believe we can be like, okay, is this going to be as good as, like, say, Pokemon Detective Pikachu and Sonic, even though it's a completely different realm altogether? It's going to be fully animated. It's no live-action bits or anything like that. It's fully animated. So it's like, that's the only thing that's different between those two films. But in terms of video game adaptation films, I don't know. It's hard to say right now. Anyway, guys, I figure why not just go ahead and talk about the Mario movie, seeing as how we got the voice crew revealed and stuff. So, yeah, my overall thoughts, still too early to tell. It's definitely a weird choice of characters. But then again, Mario is a weird game. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Catch you guys then.